All right, welcome to Halitics. I'm Hal Ginsberg. So glad to be talking to you today. It is a Monday. I'm not sure if you heard that music to start the program. I didn't see the levels bouncing for the fur-elise, which is unfortunate. I'm not sure whether there was some issue with the change in the distribution method or the change in the start that I'm using on my computer, but I know you're hearing me because I can see my levels, my mic moving up and down. So even if you don't hear the fur-elise, it's not the end of the world. All right, 240-242-5646 if you want to join me. Love to talk to you. 240-242-5646. I even just checked and I can hear myself through Facebook. So if you're watching on Facebook, if you're watching on YouTube, whatever, give me a call, 242-5646. If you're watching on Facebook, I really am trying to not necessarily sheepdog or shepherd people into the YouTube feed, but at least get folks to subscribe, because that's how I can ultimately monetize this program and just put a little something in my pocket, make me feel good about what I'm doing, that it has value to people. It wouldn't cost you a penny. There's no charge for subscribing whatsoever, but that's how Google determines whether you deserve, rather, content creators, whatever you want to call yourselves, deserve to get some kind of money. Yeah, I asked that question. I'm go back to the opening slide deck, start here. Have Democrats given up, at least have the progressive Dems given up on politics? And we'll get through that. Oh, there's my, I didn't want to have that timer there. We'll get rid. So yeah, have they given up on politics? And I asked that question. 36,000 people in Los Angeles over the weekend, I think. Maybe it was, the 12th, Saturday. And they got to see, there's Maxwell Frost. Obviously AOC and Bernie are the headliners. Khanna, Pramila Jayapal, and some other folks spoke. And it sounded to me like they were basically telling this enormous crowd, and you can even see it. There's the caption, you take to the street. So, that's fine. I mean, I do believe, of course, in protests and rallies, but that's when political solutions have failed. That's when politics don't work. That's why you had the 2021 January 6th rally, right? Because for the people who were there, the Trumpers, they felt politics had failed them, or that it wasn't something that would bring about the change that they demand, that they desire. So that's when you go into the streets, or more when you get involved in some kind of civil disobedience, because politics isn't working. And it seems to me that what Maxwell Frost and AOC, will play clips, are telling you is we don't count on us. We're not going to change the system. Don't count on Democrats. We're not going to bring about the hope and change that Barack Obama promised back in 2008. That's not going to happen. You have got to somehow, by getting in the streets, by clogging up traffic, pissing people off, that's somehow going to bring about the desired protections for Medicare and then expansion to Medicare for all. That seems to be what Maxwell Frost and others are saying. I don't get that. What we've seen generally, not always, but almost always, when you have these kind of violent rebellions, or people just simply saying, no, this isn't going to work the way we're doing things, there have been some great successes, right? I mean, we certainly look to the civil rights movement, where civil disobedience really made our country a better place. It did. There's no doubt about that. But so many times you see the Arab Spring has led to even more violent repression against pro-democracy movements in the Middle East. It hasn't led to some kind of great outpouring of freedom or some blooming of freedom. We're not seeing that. We see lots of these democratic street type activities. I'm not saying we shouldn't do it. You got to do something, but they haven't led in general, as I can tell, with exceptions, to a better place. We have a system in this country where the voice of the people is supposed to be reflected in legislation and in policy. And it seems clear that democracy isn't working, or at least what we have now then isn't democracy. Our system is failing us. And you could say it's because it's a failure of democracy, but I would much prefer to view it as though we have failed democracy. We don't have democracy in this country. The Congress doesn't act in a way that is consistent with the express will of the people. And that is what the message was. That was clearly the message at the LA rally on Saturday from your progressive Democrats. We cannot protect you. We cannot defend this system. Our policies, our programs aren't going to do the job. That was now, they wouldn't have said it that way. They would say, well, we can't stop MAGA, or we need you to get in the streets. But it wasn't hard to read between the lines that what AOC, what Maxwell Frost, what Bernie was saying is, we're not gonna do what you want. We're not gonna do what you want. Gaza death toll nears 51,000, another deadly weekend in Israel, or by virtue, because of Israel. It really wasn't deadly in Israel. It was deadly in Gaza because of the Israeli military. And I put this on there. This is from Anadolu Ajansi, the Turkish agency there, breaking in less than 48 hours. So obviously Israel doesn't have a democracy either. Over 1,500 Israeli military personnel, including generals, signed a petition urging the government to stop killing people in Gaza, to retrieve the hostages. Well, obviously, we know that went nowhere because, as you can see from the headline below, the death toll nears 51,000 as Israel's genocidal war continues unabated. I will get to the LA rally, I promise you. By the way, call me, 240-242-5646. Would love to hear from you today, 240-242-5646. And I'm going to be checking. I can't monitor everywhere that I'm streaming, but where I will monitor is the YouTube feed. So if you want me to read what your comments are, your live chat, that's the place to put it. I mean, you can post wherever you like, but I won't see it while I'm streaming if it's in Facebook. And again, you can call me. I'd love to talk to you, 240-242-5646. Just going to check that, test it to make sure that and I'm not hearing anything. So it may be you call in and it won't ring. Oh, there it goes. Now I can hear it ringing. So death toll 51,000, just about. And we can see, we're going to show you a picture because I don't want people to just get a raw number, which is horrible. I mean, I think we can sort of understand. Over 50,000 dead now. That's a medium-sized city. I don't know how many people live in White Plains, New York. I think when I was a kid, it was around 50,000, maybe bigger than that. But, a small to medium-sized suburb, medium-sized suburb now, completely wiped out by Israel. But it's not just the death toll, which is almost certainly far higher than 50,000. It's the damage, and you can just see there the rubble. That's a hospital that Israel, I believe, no, that's a home. That's a home. They also did go after the last functioning hospital in northern Gaza, maybe in all of the Gaza Strip over the weekend. So we'll get into that story very, very briefly as well. We have a lot to go to, but 39 more Palestinians killed Sunday, bringing the death tolls we just told you, just about 51,000, 50,983. That's confirmed. That doesn't mean There aren't many more dead. In fact, there are certainly many more dead, but that's the identify the bodies, corpses, at least. Just about 51,000. And, so there's your little sort of reduction since October 7, 2083. And I don't want anyone to get the idea that I'm not going to specify just how many Bibi has killed with Trump's help as opposed to with Harris-Biden's. So you can see there from March 18, and did I not put my new date? I thought I did. I, of course, didn't, but it's from March 18 through April 12. We'll change that, 2025. Trump and Netanyahu have killed at least 1,483 Gazans, and that's 71 people. Oh, it's the 13th, right? Not the 12th. There are 71 people over the weekend. So one thing that's interesting about that, I just want to say real quick, I was looking into my Google Slides program because one thing that would help me so that I wouldn't have to keep, I always forget, right? I always forget to put the dates and change every little detail, the fields, as if I could put a field there so it would just automatically update. But I can't do that with slides. I could, but it's beyond my pay grade in terms of the technical expertise. Bottom line is Trump now has killed close to 1,500 Gazans with this, not Netanyahu as his cat's paw. Netanyahu is the one who's actually dropping the bombs, sending the military in there, completely disregarding what his generals are telling him. This is what our government, this is what we're doing, this is what Israel's doing. The idea that we somehow can claim some moral superiority and say, well, we need to stand up to Putin because he's evil, because he's a monster, because of what he's trying to do. And I've seen it called the Ukraine war is being called a genocide. It's not. I mean, this just does not meet any definition of genocide. Obviously, what Israel's doing, ethnic cleansing, trying to just simply clear out Gaza, empty it of the people who live there so that Israel can repopulate it with Jews, that's genocide. That's not what Putin is doing. So the idea that we as a country have the arrogance, that we have people in this country who have the arrogance to believe, that we should be fighting a permanent war with Russia because we are morally superior is just so utterly absurd. All right, I wanted to share, I talk a lot about how the New York Times deprecates the genocide, doesn't talk a lot about it. So here's the Washington Post. They do cover the strikes this morning, as did the New York Times on their front page, but only a little blurb at the bottom linking to a story deep, very deep in the front section, same as the Times. I didn't do the Times today. Actually thought the Post's content was a little more honest, a little bit more reflective of what Israel's doing. So you can see at the very bottom left, I put a little purple or magenta oval around where the story is, where the blurb is, and then I blew it up for you. So fresh strikes, Israel's military bombed the last fully functional hospital in Gaza City, giving people just 20 minutes to evacuate. So that's what Israel's doing with our bombs, with our weapons. This story is getting, I didn't really focus on it when it came out. Arlen mentioned it last week, and we'll have Arlen tomorrow, Arlen Tuesday. But Arlen mentioned how Israel had killed aid workers, right? Red Crescent workers who were going in to provide some relief, if they possibly could, to the victims of the Israeli genocide in Gaza. And the Israeli military, the army there, started firing on and killing the aid workers. And the Guardian covers, this is a nearly 2-week-old story, but I want to visit it because I didn't when it first came out. I probably should have. I should have, but there's a lot to cover, obviously. execution-style killings of Palestinian aid workers by Israeli forces, says doctor, and multiple bullets were used from short range and attack that has caused global outrage. It's true, the outrage has been pretty much global, except in the United States. There's not a lot of globality here. And it tells you a lot, really. It tells you a lot about where we are as a country, that this story does not excite the outrage that it should be. I do ask you to subscribe. By the way, there it is. Let me do it one more time. Please do click subscribe if you. So that means if you're watching on Facebook, at least go to the YouTube feed and click there. And also, yeah, click like. If you're watching on YouTube or if you're watching whatever, join Halitics on Facebook as well. That's a great resource. Lots of folks there, lots of different views. Try to keep that very, very current. So it's a pretty cool spot. I'm really happy about it. Join Halitics on Facebook. And finally, yeah, click the little like button if you like what we're doing. I hope you do. I do. I mean, I like it because I'm doing it. So I suppose that's a good thing. It would be bad if I didn't like what I was doing. It's depressing, though, because the stories are so awful. We're trying to move the country in a better direction. I don't see that at this point happen. A worldwide outrage at Israel. That's just no other way to look at it. Even, the UK, Keir Starmer, who was in the past the prime minister there, the Labour prime minister, right, used to be Boris Johnson, the messenger boy for Harris Biden went to, that is Boris Johnson, the Tory, went to Ukraine and told Zelensky no deal with the Russians, no negotiating with Russians. That meant, thousands and thousands and thousands of dead Ukrainians as a result. Now we have a different prime minister, but pretty much the same old boss, although he has said, we could have expected this from Johnson, to give Starmer a little bit of credit. He is separating here from the Zionists, or as Norman Finkelstein prefers to call them, the Jewish supremacists, and from the Trump administration, saying that we need more aid into Gaza. We want an investigation into Israel's killing of Gaza aid workers. So there is something positive, I suppose. You can see the picture there. I wanted you to see that. This is from Politico from about a week ago. And you can just again see the absolute devastation wrought by the Israeli military with American weapons. We've got to have a change. It's just that simple. And in November, the election that was conducted in this country did not lead to a change in our policy towards Israel. The administration that came in January did not change the policy towards Israel. For a moment there was a little tiny bit of optimism I had when Trump's envoy there, Witkoff, was able to negotiate a ceasefire for a couple of months. Just about a couple of months, just under a couple of months, I should say. So there was a little bit of optimism, a little bit of hope. Maybe things will get better. Didn't happen. We need to go in a different direction. Both parties are monstrous. Both parties are atrocious. I sort of was thinking about this because, remember, repeatedly, Harris said, I'm not going to withhold weapons from Israel. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to change policies. He said that over and over and over again. Bernie Sanders had a bill to stop sending weapons to Israel. That was on the floor of the Senate just after the reports that Israel had killed these aid workers. Reports, by the way, that those killings, some of them were execution style, hands tied behind their back. No, I don't think they were confirmed. Reports that show that Israel lied. Israel said, we didn't know they were an aid truck. They didn't have the Red Crescent. They didn't have the signs on them. False. The images that Israel even shared, the video of the stop of the aid truck on April 2nd showed that the aid truck was clearly marked as a humanitarian, as on a humanitarian mission. So Israel lied. And despite all of that all of that came out, 15 Senate Dems out of 48, I think, 47, 48, something like that. 15, less than 1/3 of your Democratic Party said, no, we're not going to support Israel. Less than 1/3. 15 humanitarian workers killed. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer says this needs to be investigated. Only less than 1/3 of Democrats in the Senate are bothered enough to say we can't support them. We can't support Israel as a result of this. The Trump administration gets an awful lot of heat, right? Democrats, this big rallies, progressive rallies, fighting oligarchy. Nobody's saying it, boo, about this. Politico, not a left-wing rag, not some kind of intercept. Telling silence on Gaza aid worker killing. So what is Trump silence telling us? Doesn't care. He doesn't care. And what his flack said, what Caroline Leavitt said was, hey, every death of a Gazan is on Hamas's hands. It's Hamas's fault. Complete carte blanche to Israel. Can do whatever it wants. No matter how many people Israel kills, Trump has said it's Hamas's fault. It's the opposite of stop me before I kill again. It's kill, kill, kill again. You're completely free to do so. And the Democrats aren't stopping him, aren't stopping Trump, aren't fighting against him. They're not using their bully pulpit, nothing. I don't know how much. I mean, it's extraordinary that this is all happening, and there's no pushback. We're not stopping. I mean, I just don't get the failure of Democrats. Well, I do. I do. They're corrupt. They're paid for by AIPAC. That's why. Is there hope from from some of these lefty Dems, right? They're supposedly lefties. The Bernies. I mean, she's got this. Look at this. This is from AOC. This is AOC's website, YouTube channel here. So I got a little picture of it, and I mean, my gosh, look at that. It's just so impressive. The LA here, I don't want you to miss any of it. I want to cover. Look at that fighting oligarchy. They're sort of disembodied. Bernie and AOC hovering over the city of angels. They're going to champion us. They're going to fight oligarchy. Are they really, though? Is that really what's happening here? Or are they telling us, well, we can't, right? We're not up for this fight, it seems to me. So let's start with I think it's Representative Frost. Now, I played Representative Frost. Now, he has some good things to say. I don't hate him. If I lived in his district, I'm sure I'd vote for him unless there was there was an alternative. But this points up the absolute need for us to build a true progressive party, a real pro-worker, a real environmental party, because the Democratic Party obviously doesn't meet that definition, not even close. Here's Maxwell Frost.
The entire nation. That's not about Democrats or Republicans, independents, any party. It's about the people versus the problem. I won't be the one to say everything, 100% of everything is going to be okay. There's harm happening right now across the country. I come from Florida. See, Project 2025 is Florida 2024. We've seen this, but we also know how to deal with it. When they disappear a college student, you take to the streets.
So he's saying that's how we deal with it, right? When they disappear students,
when they steal,
we take to the streets. That's Maxwell Frost's answer. Maxwell Frost's answer isn't when they disappear students, we convene Congress and we shut everything down in the government. His answer isn't Democrats filibuster all legislation so nothing can be done in the Senate. That's not his answer. His answer is, well, we have to get in the streets. But is he in the streets? Is he leading a movement in the streets? And I would say this. If you're going to get in the streets, you got to shut things down. You can't just be at some event with Maxwell Frost. You've got to actually throw sand in the machinery. You've got to gum up the works or nothing will change. But what the bottom line from Maxwell Frost is, don't count on us Dems. We ain't going to do nothing. We ain't changing nothing.
Care, Social Security, and Medicaid, you take to the streets.
So if you're going to lose Medicaid, Medicare, you take to the streets. Well, I would say, why aren't you protecting it? Why aren't you doing everything you can? See, at least what Bernie and AOC are trying to do, apparently, is get Republicans on board, stopping at least the worst excesses, the worst cuts. So is taking to this. I don't know that rallies in Los Angeles are going to do anything to keep Republicans from cutting Medicare, Medicaid. What you need to do, Maxwell Frost, is say, hey, if Republicans cut Medicare, Medicaid, if in fact, what we will do in 26, if you elect us, is we're going to pass Medicare for all. We're going to dare Republicans to vote against it. We're going to dare Trump to veto it. But of course he can't say that because his party is weak. His party is corrupt. His party is unwilling to take on their corporate benefactors. And for good reason. Why would they? Life is good for the Dems. Life is good for the congressional Dems. So the message from Maxwell Frost is, you're on your own. Go out in the streets. We're not going to do anything for you. That's clearly the message.
When they try and rig an economy even more, when they try to use tariffs to enrich other people, not to help working people, you take to the streets and you're loud about it.
So again, the message is you do it. We're not going to help you. You elected us. You elected us to fight for you. But we're not going to fight for you. We're not going to do anything for you. That's without question his message. And the message about tariffs is such a bad one. The message about tariffs really should be, and it reflects such a failure to take advantage of a political opportunity by the Democrat Party, but the failure that's based on their corruption. We know that we need to protect American jobs. We know that we need to make it more expensive for importers and offshorers and outsourcers. We know that they have to pay a price for pitting American workers against exploited labor overseas. We know we have to do it, but we're not going to. We're not going to provide a compelling alternative to the Trump tariffs, which are not well thought through, which have not been implemented in an efficient, effective fashion. We're not going to do any of that. We're just going to tell you go out in the streets. Wow. How inspiring.
What I always used to say as an organizer is the true testaments of an organizer is not what you do when everybody's looking, it's what you do when nobody is looking. But the true testament of a movement is what you do when the world is watching. And the world is watching our country right now to see how we will deal with a billionaire in the White House, how we will deal with somebody who wants to take away our things. And it can't just be about protecting what we've already earned. Of course, we're going to protect Medicare, Social Security, and Medicaid.
Which is not, I mean, have they really? I was thinking a lot about this. Biden had leaned towards Medicare disadvantage. He had leaned towards more funding. In the end, he did cut funding for Medicare disadvantage at the very end. So that was a positive, I suppose. But to say, well, we're going to protect Medicare only because they're, special, relatively well-funded special interests like AARP are pushing like crazy to keep Medicare funded. That's the only reason Democrats haven't gutted that. And many Democrats don't give a crap about it either. But you're saying, Frost, it can't just be about protecting what we have, which of course we're going to do. Actually, Obama proposed a grand bargain which would have cut Social Security benefits, or at least reduce their the hikes in payment. So no, Democrats are not protecting what we already have. That's not true. It's not an of course. It's far from that. But you're right. It should be about expanding the safety net. It should be about bringing back a certain measure of security to the American public, which has been completely lost. It should be about the social compact, which there existed to a degree in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and is gone completely. Like the buffalo, it's gone. It should be about bringing that back, Frost. You're right. But you can't promise that your party will do that, because your party won't. What you need to do is lead a movement away from the Democratic Party. But you'll never do that.
The other question is, what's next? What next do we create? A Medicare for all? Ending gun violence? Fighting the...
All right, so what's next? And he lists what could be next, but he doesn't actually present any compelling vision. Because that's who the Democrats are. They can't. They know how bad their party is. And Bernie, to his credit in 2016, he said, hey, it's going to be hard. I'm not promising you anything. I'm telling you, we need to build a movement to force the Democratic Party to elect people who will pass Medicare for all, who will cut the Pentagon budget. That's what he said in 2016. Not really saying that now. He said in 2016, hey, you can elect me president, but it's not going to be enough. With the Democrats and Republicans in power, that's not enough. You don't hear that from this group. You don't hear them saying, oh yeah, we have to replace Democrats. There's lip service to the criticism of the Democrats, but the basic message from AOC, from their Maxwell Frost is, hey, you're on your own. There's really nothing we can do. Just get out in the streets and hope for the best. All right, let's listen to AOC here.
When I first got to Congress, I was genuinely shocked by how this place worked. Even having run against dark money and on a campaign against it in the first place. The everyday influence of corruption and dark money was astonishing. How normalized it is. In fact, Congress and members of Congress have somehow conditioned itself to actually believe that it is normal for elected representatives who swear an oath to the American people to day trade individual stocks that make millions with the sensitive...
So she says, hey, it's really bad. Look at this corruption. There's individual Congress members are day trading stocks, or just making profits based on legislation. that's going to pass, or that's going to be proposed, that they know is going to impact the stock market. So that's a general message which we want to see, right? Go after your own party. You got to be willing to take on your own house, to clean your own house, because no one's going to let you. If you look, let's say you're looking for a service to clean your office or to clean your house. You're looking for a service, right, for your office. So you go to one of the applicants. You go to their office where they've got their, business run, and it's a pigsty. It's filthy. There's nothing even remotely sanitary or hygienic about this office, where the person that, where you're looking to hire a service to provide janitorial cleanup in your office or your apartment building. Are you going to hire them? Are you going to hire somebody who can't even keep their own place in order? Of course not. You'd be like, are you crazy? Why would I trust you? So here's AOC beefing and complaining about how bad the corruption is in Congress. I couldn't believe it. I come into power and these people, and she means her own party. She means the Democrats, but she won't call them out. I couldn't believe it. It was just a hotbed of corruption there. But then who does she identify as the villains?
Information that we are entrusted with for the purpose of governing. How can anyone possibly make an objective vote on healthcare, energy, or war when their personal money is tied up in pharmaceutical, oil and gas, or defense company stocks? They can't.
And that includes, of course, Democratic representatives. Bernie said in 2016, you want health, Medicare for all, you got to replace these people. Does she say that? Does AOC say we got to replace those corrupt Dems? Let's find out.
You can't. And we saw this play out this week with Trump's corrupt...
Trump. Oh, it's not about the Democrats' failure. It's not about what happened in 2021 when there was some real genuine progressive legislation to support the Green New Deal. No, it's not about how that went up in flames. No, it's not about the Democrats voting against the $15 minimum wage, the failure of Biden or Harris to overturn the decision by the parliamentarian in the Senate that somehow that shouldn't be, didn't affect the budget, or did affect the budget, so therefore you couldn't filibuster, or you could filibuster, whatever the hell the Senate parliamentarian decided that meant there wasn't going to be a $15 minimum wage. No, it's not about that. It's just about Trump. It's not about all the billions and billions of dollars that Democrats are voting for to perpetuate endless war with Russia, to slaughter thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people in Gaza. No, that's not the corruption that AOC is concerned about. It's only what's happening with Trump.
Disastrous tariff scheme. I hope that we all see now that the White House's tariff shuffle here didn't have anything to do with manufacturing like they...
So again, now that she pivots again, it's all about the tariffs. And it's so important to understand the value, the importance, the critical nature of tariffs. Working people get this. They absolutely do. But so many, and I bet AOC does. I don't know. I mean, she was apparently an economics major, an economics minor. She should understand this, although I know a lot of economics people don't. But the crowd, these are going to be mostly not wealthy necessarily, not affluent, but mostly white collar. I would doubt there's a lot of factory workers who are at this rally. I would be surprised. They understand we cannot thrive in a free market, quote, free, unquote, market economy. They understand that. We need tariffs. But the Democratic Party is funded by Wall Street. The Democratic Party is funded by corporate elites, and their profits are dependent in significant part keeping labor weak, keeping labor underpaid. Tariffs make it less easy to do that. I'm not saying it's impossible. They make it less easy. You want to criticize Trump's tariffs? Do it. But do it in context that makes clear you support tariffs. So what are AOC's big issues there? She doesn't like tariffs. She doesn't like Trump tariffs. She doesn't like day trading. So I'm not going to play a clip of this guy, but I just wanted to show his image real quick because this goes directly to AOC's message. So here's Silicon Valley Congress member Ro Khanna speaking there. He's going to introduce Pramila Jayapal. And remember what AOC said. She said, hey, you're not going to get Medicare for all if you've got these Congress members day trading healthcare stocks, right? Taking money from those companies. You're not going to get it. Ro Khanna is one of the wealthiest men, women, people in Congress. It's really, I didn't realize how rich this guy is. So I want to show you this. This is his record. This is from Unusual Whales, which is a very well-known X account that tracks what Congress members are doing. AOC's beef, one of them, a big beef, and rightly so, is all the day trading by Congress members, the use of insider information to enrich themselves. And obviously it hurts everyone else a little bit when they make extraordinary profits based on their knowledge. She says, hey, we're not going to have a good system. We're not going to have a fair system if these Congress members are doing all this buying and selling. So I'm not going to show you all of Mr. Khanna's record. But this is the most recent report that Unusual Whales has of Ro Khanna. This is after Trump was elected. This is all, we all know how important it is for Democrats to at least appear to be relatively squeaky clean. We know that a big reason the Democrats aren't winning is because they're perceived as corrupt, as they're perceived as Wall Street puppets. So look at all that trading by Ro Khanna. This is his account from Unusual Whales. Or spouse, child, not just him, this is his family. March 6th, he reports this is the trades in the past month. On the 28th, he sells XSP 2 lots. On the 25th, which I guess means 28th was a Friday. It was a Monday. The previous Friday, the 25th. Look at all those transactions. Sells AMT, buys ARE, buys BXP. That's Bank. I don't know what that is, BXP. Not sure. Buys CCI. This is all one day. Sells DLR, sells EXR, buys RY. That's all one day. All those transactions. Quite astonishing, isn't it? And AOC says she doesn't like the day trades, right? So you see several stocks buy BXP on the 19th, buy BXP on the 25th. It's clearly evidence. It doesn't prove it. Maybe these were just stocks that the broker liked. I don't know. Doesn't look good. Doesn't look good. Doesn't look like this is something that the average American can do. And again, this is just 1 month. This is just the March report. Look at all those transactions. And we'll go back a month to the February report. Look at all those transactions. Is this someone you can trust? I don't trust him to make decisions independent of his stock holdings. I absolutely do not. I can't. You have all this money at stake. It's gotta impact on the way you govern. There's just no question. Now, Khanna used to own a lot of defense stocks. I looked through a lot of those, what do you call them? The symbols, right? BXP is a symbol. XSP, a lot of them. Mostly banks, a lot of tech companies. Did not see any military companies. I don't know. Maybe he's no longer doing that. I saw some. I think there was some biotech in there. I don't want to be absolutely certain about that. I'm pretty sure there was some biotech. But his interests aren't yours. Whether these companies make exorbitant or high or extraordinary profits, that matters a lot to Ro Khanna. That doesn't presumably matter much to you. And in fact, the interest of those companies to make extraordinary profits probably often conflicts with what's best for you. They're price gouging. They're engaging in anti-competitive behaviors. They're offshoring jobs. If their software is used to make workers redundant, that may well conflict with what's best for you. So Ro Khanna's interests in the stock market are very different from your own. And this is exactly what AOC was talking about in her speech. Correctly so, except she doesn't call out Ro Khanna. She doesn't call out Democrats. She only calls out Trump. Now, some would say, well, you know what? Trump is the existential threat. Ro Khanna is a good guy. I like Ro Khanna. I actually do. I think Ro Khanna probably is a pretty good guy. Ro Khanna's policies are pretty good. So why should, we've got to be united against Trump. The problem is you're not going to persuade people. People aren't going to believe you're on their side. People aren't going to take you as an ally. When you have in your house clear evidence of corruption, when you have in your house clear evidence of influence peddling and influence purchasing. And even if you may win an election here or there, in the end, we're not going to be any better off. All right, so this was 2017. Look how rich Ro Khanna. I was surprised. 2017, when he had just gotten, I think that was his first election. He already had $45 million. That seems odd to me. I don't know how that could have been. Maybe he is from a very wealthy family, I guess. But it's unclear. Because what I really wanted to find out was, okay, how rich has he gotten since he's been in Congress? He started out $45 million, one of the richest Congress members. Clearly, he's not a person of the people. He's not a man of the public people. I guess you could say maybe he is, like FDR was. I don't know if FDR was making all those trades when he was president. Maybe he was. Ro Khanna's net worth revealed. How rich is he? This is Finbold. I don't know if they're reliable. I'm going to hope there are. He was worth $47 million, according to his statement when he first took office in 2017 as Congress. I guess he gave a pretty hard number, right? He's learned he's not going to just give one round number. He's going to give he's going to be pretty circumspect. And not telling you this is what I have. So according to his the latest statement I saw there, I assume there's a 24. Maybe it hasn't been made public yet. I don't know. This is from 23. They give a huge range of what that value of his assets are ranges from 36 to over $100 million with no reported liabilities. So I'm going to assume that he's closer to the 100 million mark. If he started with 47 million, he has insider information, he's trading on it. Unless he's given away a lot of money, which is possible. Maybe some of the money's been put in his wife's name. I don't know how that works here. The bottom line is, Ro Khanna is in a different spot than you. Democrats who are making policy are so often so far ahead of you in terms of wealth that they can't be trusted to act in your best interest because their interests conflict so directly with your own. AOC made the point that Trump is corrupt. She's right. The Trump administration is acting in ways that are clearly, obviously counter to you. But what she fails to do, and this is an enormous weakness, it's cannot overcome this weakness, is if you don't accept that your own side is also corrupt, that your own side, your own stables need to be completely cleaned out. And they don't do it. So don't expect anything from them. And that's why Frost said, hey, don't ask us for help. Get out in the streets. We ain't going to do anything for you. He knows. He gets it. He understands. Don't expect legislation from us. Don't expect us to hold these people accountable in any way, shape, or form. Don't expect us to vote against aid for Israel. It's not going to happen. I want to play this. This is from The Hill. I'm trying to remember where I got this clip. Very brief. You know, if you watch any of my videos, if you've seen my posts, I believe as a matter of religion in tariffs. And I'll tell you why I say religion. Because I accept the basic principles of economics. I accept supply and demand curves. I accept that when you raise the price of an item, of a good, of an input, when you raise the price of anything, demand for that input drops. Now, there can be other factors, whatever, but there's a term called ceteris paribus, everything else remaining equal. That's Latin, ceteris paribus. All else being equal, when you raise the price of an item, demand for it drops. So I accept that. That's a tenet that I accept. When you lower the price of an item, demand for it rises, and demand for competitive or complementary goods, in other words, similar goods, substitutes, that's the word I'm looking for. If you raise the price of if you lower the price of a good, of an item, demand for substitute goods drops. So, what that means, very, very clearly, is if you raise the price of a good manufactured overseas, then demand for products made onshore will go up. It also means that if you have lower prices for overseas goods, because of, say, free trade, which eliminates tariffs, which makes it cheaper to make goods overseas, when you lower the price of an overseas item, then demand for that will rise, and demand for domestically produced products will drop. I don't know if I call that a religion. Religion is you accept something on faith. This is proven. This has been demonstrated time after time after time. So free trade has destroyed our many domestic manufacturing industries, and ruin communities where people who depended on jobs and communities that depended on factory work and mill work and other work that produced goods for this market and for other markets was lost because of competition from cheaper manufacturers overseas. So that's not religion. That's not faith. That's just a fact. And another fact is that we are living through the sixth great extinction. It's the age of man. It's the Anthropocene age. It's caused by our burning fossil fuels. And all that trade, all those ships churning up the Pacific, bringing in cars, computers, whatever else from Asia, are incredibly bad for the environment. So tariffs address those problems. Tariffs also raise money for the government. So I am 100% supportive of tariffs, and I haven't ever heard a good argument against them. Yes, they do raise prices for workers. You raise the price of production of an item or the cost of purchasing it. A middle person buying an item has to pay more, then it will raise the price that you ultimately pay for it. But there are ways around that, obviously, because the price is raised less than the tariff. If there's a $1 tariff on a widget, the price of widgets will not go up $1. It'll go up significantly less than $1. So that $1 can be used to address the pain felt by those who buy the widgets, or at least the poor, struggling, and working people who have to buy the widgets. And in the end, the widgets will come back to this country, and they'll be made here, and it'll be better for the people who have the job making the widgets. And then, supply chains will be shortened and all that. But let me just play this clip for all those who reflexively don't like tariffs.
I'm Nancy Liu at the Port of Los Angeles, and off in the distance there is a ship that just came in today from Taiwan, which typically sends in a lot of electronic goods. Looking ahead though, freight bookings, they are down by about 25%, especially on routes to and from Asia. And due to canceled orders on Chinese goods, freight traffic likely to drop even more in the months ahead. There's word of Amazon canceling orders from China, things like beach chairs and air conditioners. Meantime, American manufacturers and food exporters reporting a sharp drop in overseas orders.
Sure, in overseas, but what will happen is there'll be a sharp increase in domestic orders, which they don't talk about. They present that story as though it's a bad thing, but it's actually a really good thing. There's less diesel fuel from these filthy container ships fouling up the environment, far less. Churning up the Pacific, destroying the environment for the already under tremendous duress fisheries around the world. And then ultimately, jobs will come back to this country, assuming we maintain those tariffs. This is a way the media tries desperately to make it look bad, but what's really a good thing. We consume too much anyway. So if there's a reduction in our overall consumption, that's good. What has to be done, and this is where Democrats are missing a golden opportunity, but they're deliberately missing it. This is where you say, okay, yeah, we are going to consume less and in total, which is good, but we have to make sure that there's enough for every poor, struggling, and working person, many of whom don't have enough right now. But the Democrats won't do that. They won't. So they leave themselves wide open to being called corrupt and phony, and they don't really believe in environmentalism, and they don't really believe in working people because they oppose tariffs. They lose in every way possible. There's a way to resolve that, is just do the right thing. Just say, yeah, we support tariffs because we want to bring jobs back here. We'll use the money to pay off the budget, to pay off the deficit, to pay off the debt, the national debt, to reduce the deficit, to eliminate it. because there shouldn't be a deficit. But we're also going to make sure that the tax burden on the billionaire class goes up. So revenues increase, we pay off our debt, we pay off our deficit, and we use the revenues that we do have now, make life better for poor, struggling, working people. That message would be so incredibly popular, except among Wall Street, except among the importers, the exporters. They wouldn't. I don't care if they don't like it, but I don't get millions of dollars from them. I'm not hoping for a golden parachute when I retire. Final, so just want to give you this, highlight this. This was really interesting. Great video. I do recommend you watch it. I'm really trying to promote other hosts that I think do a really good job. I mentioned Glenn Greenwald a lot. I think he's outstanding. This is from this is a screenshot from System Update, which is his show. He had on Lee Fong. Fong is now, I think, independent. Used to write for The Intercept. He talks about the slush fund that the Harris campaign had to use to promote. And we see this, by the way, on the right, too. We see this with people like Tim Pool, who got, I don't know how much, a lot of money to promote Zionist messaging, to talk about how great Israel is. So you watch videos and you think, oh, I'm hearing from somebody who's independent, who I can believe, and really they're getting money. You don't know it from, shadowy groups like AIPAC-funded organizations like Pool is. Or in this case, Democrats sending money to TikTok influencers to talk about how great Kamala is. And you think, oh, they're doing a Kamala dance and the Brat Summer. This is all organic. It wasn't. It was hatched by, according to Fong, either hatched by or at least heavily pushed by Democrat money. It wasn't organic. One of the, and it makes me think a little bit about how the clearly correct force the vote movement faced so much concerted opposition. It was so across the board. And were people like, I don't know, Sam Cedar, I don't know, I'm asking, who could have been leaders promoting it? And they did. At first they even said, hey, it seems like a good idea, and then they stopped. Was it just because they got calls from Democrats, which apparently they did, saying, don't promote force the vote. We don't want to take on Pelosi. This isn't going to go well for us, rather than this is the best thing for the American people, so we should do it. No, we personally, as individuals, don't like it, so we're not going to do it. And we don't want you talking about it. Was there money involved? Were people like David Pakman, who, remember, Pakman went to the White House during the 2024 race, supposed to be a progressive, he presents as one. Was that money that motivated him, or did he really believe it? I don't know. I'm just asking the question because we see so much this sort of astroturfing where what looks like it's grassroots, where it looks like it's organic, is really the result, direct result of funding. There's very tough, right? I mean, you watch somebody that you like, you believe in them. Do they really believe what they're telling you? Or are they telling you it because they're getting paid to tell you that? And so my answer to that is, who cares why they're telling it to you? Is what they're telling you believable? Is it credible, or isn't it? I mean, it couldn't have been clearer that Kamala was not woman of the people, that she wasn't going to govern as a pro-peace, you just had to listen to her words. So if someone is telling you stuff that contradicts what they used to say, or that is just clearly not believable, then you just stop believing them. Cancel them. Don't cancel them because they challenge some orthodoxy. Challenge them because what they tell you is BS. Challenge them because they've done a 180 on issues that they previously were persuasive and seemed to really believe. Like Kyle Kulinski. He used to say, oh yeah, the Democrats are really bad too. I can't support them any more than I can support Trump. Then suddenly, oh, Joe's been really good, except for maybe on Gaza, so we got to vote for him. He's been much better than we ever thought. So people start telling you that crap. That's when you stop believing them. That's when you stop listening to them. Maybe they're bought and paid for. Maybe they've gone off the deep end. In the end, it doesn't really matter. What matters is the message. Is it true? Is it accurate? Is it credible? Is it anti-establishment? Is it anti-elite? Is it anti-billionaire? Is it pro-peace? Or is it sheepdogging you to vote for bad people who've done bad things? And if it's the latter, don't listen to them. Don't support them. Don't vote for them. Unsubscribe. I'll be back tomorrow. It'll be our own Tuesday.